Hey, Papa from Papa's Custom Cars. Just wanted to shoot a quick video out on the Azzuno Welder. I had somebody ask me some questions about it. And their settings and their welding 023 with the automatic settings on the welder, and they couldn't understand why they're popping holes in the metal. One of the things that I have learned, and I'll show you you want to adjust your amperage based on what you're doing. So you may have to turn your speed up, your wire speed up, your amps up or down, depending upon what you're welding. What they say on the machine is not necessarily the right amount based on what you're doing. And if you've got a new machine, like this is a new machine for me, I am not going to walk right over to the car and start attacking it to try to figure out how to set it up and all that kind of thing. I'm going to take it and I'm going to set it. I'm going to read up on it, find other people that have one, see how they set it up, do my research on it, and then I'm going to take my welding table and I'm going to take the type of metal that I'm going to be welding, and I'm going to get a couple of scrap pieces and I'm going to practice welding with the welder until I understand how the welder works. I can tell you that when I had the buzz box, I must have practiced with that thing for a solid 6 months before I attacked the car and touched anything on the car. And even then it wasn't great, but it was welding. With this one and with my TIG welder, I'm going to have to do the same. I've already played with my TIG welder, and I really do like it, the controllability of it. I imagine this one's got just as much to offer as it does, but I've got to learn how to use it first and how it acts, that type of thing. Anytime you get any kind of new welder, you want to play with it first before you attack metal with it. Take two of those I think it was 20 gauge or 22 gauge or something that he was using, and he was blowing holes right through it. You're going to. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Number one, you're a beginning welder, so that's going to happen no matter what. It still happens to me, and I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning, but I figure the little bit better equipment will help me adjust my temperatures a little bit better, so that I can control my environment a little better. But you've got to take these things and you've got to play with them. You can't get good at something if you don't practice. And one of the things I've learned about welding, and one of the best welders that I ever saw weld, was a guy named Dan, who was a friend of mine out in California. He could lay down an arc bead that was just phenomenal, but the guy was a precisionist. He had patience like you wouldn't believe. He used to build these small models out of wood that you would just blow your mind because they looked so real. Because he was patient and he took his time. Because he took his time and practiced his craft, he got really good at welding. I had the other friend that was with us that welded. He welded well too, but both of them had lots and lots of practice. Along with that practice, we have to have patience. I'm horrible when it comes to patience. That's why you see me bounce from job to job to job on the cars, because I'll get bored with something, so I'll move over to something else, and I'll do that for a minute, and I'll move to something else, and I'll do that for a minute, until I, come full circle. Well, right now I'm hitting full circle. I've got to start finishing up what I've started. Like the motor, it's been 2 years since I started its rebuild. I've got everything the way it's supposed to be now. But the same goes for your welding. When you're welding, you have to take your time. You have to learn your machine before you can do it. That $50 buzz box, I noticed that when I started TIG welding, I could TIG weld so much better because that buzz box would just blow holes in things. So you had to be so careful with it. And with the TIG welder, I turned the amperage way down. I think it was like 1 amp per gauge or 2 amps per gauge or something of that nature. If you watch a lot of videos, there's a lot of information out there about welding. It just depends on the machine they're using. This being your good old-fashioned low-priced Amazon machine, it's probably not going to weld as well as a 220 Miller or something of that nature, where, or the ones that use the pulse MIG now, and I think that one does. But those machines are $4,000 to this one's, $400 or $300, whatever this thing was. It wasn't much. So it's going to weld different, but each machine's going to weld completely different than the next one you touch, because it just is what it is. Now, a seasoned welder can figure out these machines in a matter of seconds, and figure out their heat and all that, and their speed and all that kind of stuff, because they've welded so much. And until we get to that point, we're kind of at the mercy of the machine, I guess you'd call it. So when you get one of these, no matter what kind of welder it is, take your time, play with it first. I had my wife got me a welding table for Christmas last year, and this thing is the handiest thing in the world. I've gone to metal supermarket and bought scrap metal, and I sit and I play with it. I've got scrap stainless, I've got scrap aluminum. My turbo kit, I've got 3 boxes of tubing that I bought at an auction for $100. Full tube sets for turbochargers. I planned on probably blowing half of them up, hopefully less, but that's what happens. But take the time to learn your welder before you attack the craft. I'm not an expert. Like I said, I am still a beginner. All the sheet metal work I did on this one, I did with a buzz box. It was very hard. It was very trying, and at patience, I had to sit that thing down and just go do something else for a minute while I regain my composure. Patience is the key. You're gonna blow holes in metal. It's just the way it is. When I learned how to weld with a torch welding, everybody in the world, old school, remembers brazing. Well, in order to pass that part of the bodywork class that I was in, you had to take 2 thin pieces of metal, weld them together with a perfect bead with no stick. So that taught me how to weld, but it took probably 4 to 6 weeks, because I had to do 3 of them in a row. And you would get through that second one and be like, I'm on my way. You get impatient, you start moving too fast, and boom, blow a hole and start over again. Walk away, go to lunch, do whatever you have to do. But you have to learn by practicing. Welding is an art. I've seen it, just like everybody else has. The guys that can do it are really good at it. And then there are guys like me who are trying to learn how to do it. And the way we get better at it is we practice consistently. I'm probably, before I start attacking the holes in the firewall and everything, I'm probably going to practice with this thing for 2 or 3 weekends, and I'll bring you along for the ride. It isn't something that comes quickly. To some people it may, but for what I've seen in life, most of the time it takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice. So one of the things I can tell you about this Azzuno Welder is it does have a lot of features that a high-end welder will have at 1/100th of the cost. Like I said, this one's under $400, and a good Miller welder, like a 220 or something, it's going to run you about $3,000 to $4,000. There's a reason for it. It's a far superior machine and has way more features, but this works for what I need. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you buy or what you own or how much you pay for it. It's all about the practice. So learn to practice with it. Once you practice with it, you'll become good. It just takes time. So allow for that time. These projects don't happen overnight. I've been working on this one over 10 years now. So it is going to take you some time to do these things. So be patient with it. There's no hurry. The only person that's hurrying you is you. So take your time and do it right. Learn how to do everything that you need to learn how to do. I can tell you that everything I've ever learned in a car, I've had to do twice. Every time. Every time I've done something, repairing a house, I've had to do it twice. Unless I sat and paid attention to what I was doing. Now they've got YouTube. Back in the day, those of us that are older, we didn't have YouTube. We had to go to the library. I mean, I bought an Oldsmobile, 63 Oldsmobile with a 215 aluminum V8 in it. I had to go to the library to figure out what I had because I didn't even know what I had. But that's what you did. You did your research. You figured out what you needed to do or how to do it. Like I said, nowadays you guys have YouTube out there, and I can tell you from experience, I've watched 4 or 5 YouTubes on this unit before I even bought it. Same with that TIG welder. I watched multiple YouTube videos on that specific unit, so I knew what unit to buy based on what the ratings were. So again, I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you're a welder that's out there and you were like us one day, throw some comments in there so that people can see what you had to do to get through that period. But with that, that'll be the final video for this weekend. I will see you guys next week with another project. Hopefully we're back on the Nova. I want to get this firewall done because spring is coming, so I'll be able to shoot paint. But please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.